And we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan, Eric Rodriguez here, the host of the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast. Just kind of reflect on what we talked about. We had our WWE Monday Night Raw review. We had our WWE NXT preview. We talked about why CM Punk got fired and how it was a huge mistake by AEW of letting go of CM Punk. Basically, sealed their fate, killed their ratings, and also why Cody Rhodes left. Why Cody Rhodes left. And now we're going to talk about today in wrestling history. So let's go ahead and dig on into that. A cute little photo of the elites and also Cody Rhodes to remind you guys that, Cody Rhodes is awesome. Obviously when you have you kind of rise above the hate. John Cena reference. Hello. But now we're going to move on into our today in wrestling history. So let's go ahead and doggone do it. So in 1963, the AWA World Heavyweight Championship title change took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota, when the Crusher, I just love that. Imagine be like, yeah, what's your name? Hey, my name's the Crusher. The Crusher defeated Vern Gagne for the AWA World Heavyweight Championship. Definitely got to touch. Definitely got to pay your respects to some of the old guys that kind of paved the way. Definitely love that. 1985, you had the Rock and Roll Express, Wiki Morton, and also Robert Gibson win their first NWA World Tag Team Championship with the win over Ivan Koloff and also Crusher, Khrushchev, and Shelby, North Carolina. Wow. Crusher. We went from the Crusher, Khrushchev. Dude, man, why don't they make wrestling names like that anymore? That's crazy. Like Crusher. What's your name? Crusher. No, I think that's pretty badass. Obviously, you have the Rock and Roll Express, one of the best tag teams in the whole entire world. I believe they were in my final four. I did a WWE, I did all of wrestling. I did basically all of wrestling. The top tag teams. I started off with the Sweet 16 down to the Elite 8. Talked about the final four, and the final two was between the Wild Samoans and was it the Rock and Roll Express? I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. Damn it. I think it was. I gotta look back in my. Make sure you check out those videos. Go ahead and Google it right now. Be like, hey, who won Eric Rodriguez? Who does Eric Rodriguez, think is the best wrestling tag team of all time? These guys were absolutely dominant. They won so many titles within the within the NWA in terms of tag team wrestling. Kind of built up the future. Kind of built up the legacy. Kind of built up what it takes for a successful tag team to run in terms of professional wrestling. These two guys did it right. They did it the best, and they are absolutely 110%. They made it into the WWE Hall of Fame. Obviously, no freaking surprise, but, love the Rock and Roll Express, 1,010%. Next, we have in 1986, you see the Fabulous Moolah defeated Velvet McIntyre for the WWF Women's World Tag Team Championship in Sydney, Australia. McIntyre had defeated Moolah for the title just 6 days earlier. Talk about a title change. You have the longest reigning WWF Women's Champion right there within the Fabulous Moolah. I love the Fabulous Moolah. I remember, she used to have promos. She used to come out with, Mae Young. Oh my God, Mae Young was so dirt. Oh my God. She was crazy. And, I was brought up during the Attitude Era. 1,010%. I was brought up during the Attitude Era. And I remember watching the what was it? 1998 Armageddon when the Cat fought somebody in a mud wrestling match, and then Mae Young came out and she was like, it was crazy. It was absolute, that was WWE back in the day. It was crazy, but Fabulous Moolah. A lot of young women's wrestlers obviously looked up to this woman. She was amazing. The longest reigning WWF Women's Champion of all time. Her accolades don't go any short of that. She was part of the AWA, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I think she touched on the AWA. I'm not too sure. But this girl was impressive. This was before women's wrestling was women's wrestling. This was, that like, all right, we have two girls that can actually go out and fight in matches and stuff like that. Or we could totally, kind of kind of subject them to, but I know, obviously this is a wrestling podcast. Don't want to send any scandalous ideas out there. So I'm going to keep it short. But I just think it's kind of cool. I just think it's kind of cool how Fabulous Moolah, she definitely deserves all the respect. It deserves all the smoke. One of the best women's wrestlers of all time. You can't tell the story of the women's revolution. The first one with Lita, Trish Stratus, Molly Holly, Victoria from WCW. And then, of course, you have the Nikki Bellas, you have the AJ Lees, the Caitlins, you also have Beth Phoenix, and now you have the Sasha Banks, Charlotte Flair, Bailey, and now you have the Becky Lynch, Liv Morgan. You can't tell all these girls' stories. You can't give them, much. Well, you give them respect, but there had to be a pillar. There had to be a pillar that was like, you know what? Women could go out there and kick ass too. And Fabulous Moolah, she was fabulous. She was amazing. All right, so in 2000, WCW Bash at the Beach. You saw Hulk Hogan leaving WCW for good. Vince Russo claimed that Hulk Hogan refused to lose to Jeff Jarrett, while Jeff Jarrett was defending his WCW World Heavyweight Championship. And, the it was just, oh man, this was huge. This was huge. I remember seeing highlights of this. I watched it. I couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, dude, at the same time, you feel for Hulk Hogan. Yes, he was Hollywood Hulk Hogan. After he left, obviously the NWO wasn't the same. Kind of crazy. Kind of, is it crazy that WCW failed shortly after this? No. This was the beginning of the end for WCW. You had Hulk Hogan, too proud. Obviously, he had a creative control clause in his contract. He did not want to lose to Jeff Jarrett. Why? I don't know. Pride, ego. Yeah, that seems about right. That sounds about Hulk Hogan in his late 30s. Yeah, dude. Hulk Hogan, you gotta own up to it, dude. Hulk Hogan, Vince Russo, Eric Bischoff. If you're watching that documentary series on Vice of Who Killed WCW, these three guys were a huge reason why. Because someone's like, "Oh, let's do this, let's do that," and Hulk Hogan was like, "Well, I'm in the freaking ring, brother. I know exactly what's going on. I know what the fans want, brother. Yeah, brother, dude, stop, Hulk Hogan. You were past your prime, and you couldn't lose this. You couldn't follow directions. You couldn't, obviously a lot of animosity between the two of Vince Russo and Hulk Hogan. So then you saw Jeff Jarrett come out, absolutely lay on the floor. Hulk Hogan demanded the mic. He was like, "Come here." Looked Vince Russo. Vince Russo tossed the title. He threw the title at Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was like, "This is exactly why this company's heading toward this is exactly what's killing this company." And he covered Jeff Jarrett, grabbed the fake, the phony title, the Hulk Hogan's retirement title that Vince Russo liked to kind of talk about. And I don't know, it was crazy. It was crazy. It was like a lot of people kind of thought that this was a promo, but it was real. And you never saw Hulk Hogan again. You never saw the NWO be the same, WCW, let alone. And then WWF/WWE, Vince McMahon saw this. He took advantage of it. He killed it. He grabbed that fish, clubbed it to death, took advantage, bought stocks of WCW. People were bailing out. Guess who all of a sudden is the main stockholder? Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Kind of crazy. Huge reason why WCW faltered was one match. Absolutely crazy. So much when Jeff Jarrett laid down simply to give Hulk Hogan the pin when Hogan walked out of WCW for good. Vince Russo came out. We had Jeff Jarrett and Booker T. An impromptu WCW World Heavyweight Championship match where you saw Booker T win and becoming the new WC five-time. I don't think it was 5-time right then, but he was a five-time WCW champion. Gotta love that. I got another chat from my boy. I never forgot about Tuesday Night Titans, but damn, that history in Tuesday Night in 1984 until I watched through video. until I was born in 1991. That's how powerful wrestling is. 1,010%. That's something that, you know, I was born in 1992. I kept tabs on. I became a huge fan of professional wrestling probably when I want to say like 7 or 8. Kind of like when you kind of have all these youngins looking up to John Cena and stuff like that. I was looking up to, I was watching WCW. I was also watching the WWF slash, would become WWE. And that was pretty cool. It was pretty magical. Loved it 1,010%. All right, in 2001, today in wrestling history, 2001, one of the most wildest Monday Night Raws in WWE history, the debut of ECW faction, and also the formation of the Alliance. The APA defeated the Dudley Boys for the WWE Tag Team Champions. The team of Chris Jericho and Kane fought against Mike Awesome and Lance Storm. That was interrupted by ECW's Tommy Dreamer and Rob Van Dam making their debuts. And it was a beatdown. It was a complete beatdown. The audiences, they were going crazy, absolutely crazy. And to save Kane and Chris Jericho, you saw the Dudley Boys come out. You saw Raven. You saw Taz. You saw Just Incredible and even Rhino rush to their aid. But as soon as they got in the ring, they pulled that turn. I was like, oh shit. Like, and then it was like a beatdown. You essentially had a 10-on-2. It was crazy. Poor Chris Jericho, poor Kane. I'd be like, dude, when I signed up for this, I didn't think I was getting my ass kicked. But no, it was crazy. It was absolutely pretty crazy. And then you saw a promo with Shane and Vince where they started a short alliance, a fake alliance. WCW was aligned by ECW. You had Paul Heyman, you had Stephanie McMahon, you had Shane, all just tormenting the father, Vince McMahon and stuff like that. You saw WWE in a delicate state, as the babyface would be. It did. This whole promo, I feel like, and this is my opinion, 1,010%. I think it didn't start too bad. Obviously, it ended. There was this building blocks of worse, 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 worse. Embarrassing WCW superstars. Yes, yes, yes. ECW superstars. Yeah, they can't hang with WWE superstars. WWF Vince McMahon's like, nah, let's bury them, bury them, bury them, bury them. But it started off pretty cool. But then, obviously got effed. Kind of sucked. Kind of terrible. I don't know. It didn't start off too bad. WWE was the darling. They were the David and the Goliath, the Bible story and stuff like that. They got all the attention, they got all the fans, they got all the support. So, good for WWE, good for Vince McMahon to kind of swing it that way. Back in 2017, we're going to talk about, WWE's Great Balls of Fire in Dallas, Texas. Just going to touch on this. Brock Lesnar defeated, Samoa Joe. I watched this match and I was like, dude, why didn't Samoa Joe win? I felt like Samoa Joe should have won. I don't know. WWE loves Brock Lesnar. I'm kind of banking on him never coming back to the WWE. I don't know if that's for personal reference or if that's just for, everything that's happened with the allegations with Janelle Grant. I'm not too sure. And we have a comment. OMG reminds me of DX territory march to the WWE headquarters with the goddamn tank. Oh my God. Why do you got to bring up the tank, bro? Why do you got to bring it? Oh, that was freaking awesome. Oh my God, that was great. That was great. I was a DX guy. I do love the NWO and definitely one of the strongest factions in the world. In the world of professional wrestling, I'm all saying in the world as if it can take down Putin and like all the other dictators. Like, but no, like it was awesome. Definitely one of the most memorable moments with DX invading WCW, and that's just wrestling. I can tell you, my man, that you were an Attitude Era kind of guy, man. Tune into my show, man. I want to talk to you more and more. Don't want you to leave. Don't leave me. I feel like you make the show 110% better. So, all right, let's, unfortunately, I am all out of time. I hate it. I've gone 18 minutes over, might get Hulk Hogan out of here and get fired. No, I'm just kidding. No, hopefully that's not the case. But anyways, thank you for tuning into the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show, and remember to follow us on Twitter /X, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever, whatever social media platforms that you use. And remember that at the GSMC Sports Network, we do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity, 1,010%. So can't wait to see more of you guys. Can't wait to see more of the chats. Obviously, the show is nothing without you guys. 1,010%. The audience is with you guys. Support the GSMC Sports Network. We have a lot of, a lot of passionate podcasters here at the GSMC Sports Network. If I haven't made you a wrestling fan by now, we have my boy Nelson with the Basketball Podcast. My boy Chris with with GSMC Fantasy Sports. Fantasy football is coming around, and if you want to find out who's going to be your round picks, the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure you watch that show. It's going to be pretty dope. We have my boy, Kenny with football, Manny with the Chip Shot Football Podcast, Emran that's coming on with soccer right now, Samantha with the Hoops and Heels, your one-stop shop for women's sports, Olympics, MMA, the WNBA, 1,010%, pretty awesome. Then we have my man, the CEO, my tribal chief, Andrew Tate, with the Tate podcast. Absolutely dope. We have Jeremy, also TJ, talking about sports, 1,010% accurate as hell, 1,010% free. That's something that we have Tommy with college sports. College sports is just around the corner, so make sure you tune into that. We have my boy Sam with baseball and my boy Garrison with golf and hockey. So honestly, love this network. Love the guys that are here. 1,010%. Check them out. It's free. It's not like Fox Sports or ESPN where you got to pay for stuff like that. Not being scandalous. Not being scandalous. I'm just kidding. No. But it's absolutely free. Be a part of this GSMC Sports Bloodline. Have an amazing Tuesday night. Enjoy your Wednesday hump day. Tune in tomorrow at 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to talk about all things wrestling. So, hey, stay beautiful. Have a good night. But most importantly, be well.